This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
And welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. The 90th General Assembly has all but finished its business related to the regular session. Joining me for their assessment of the last 81 days is Speaker of the House Jeremy Gillam and Senate President Jonathan Dismang. Welcome. Happy Easter to both of you.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Thank you for being here. You said it was going to be 85 days. That was the prediction in December. You hoped for an 85-day session. You got it done in 81. Well, how did you shave 4 days off of this? Huh? Jeremy?
The members, I think they get the large bulk of the credit, I think, from the House, and I think I speak for President Dismang, and the members really stepped up and took the challenges head on early, and I think it just did a remarkable job.
Yeah. Jonathan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has a lot to do with the timing of the big issues and where those intersected with the session. You know, private option was obviously going to be something that was going to take front and center, and that we dealt with that pretty early with some bipartisan support there. Senator Hendon really did a good job shepherding really a path for the program and actually the further reforms in Medicaid in general. And so that we got that behind us on the tax cuts. Those were done early on in the session, or the biggest one, with that being the $100 million income tax cut for the middle class. Yeah, exactly. And that also kind of gave us a better avenue or a better view of what was going to happen with the budget. So we knew what we had to work with, and it just helped speed things along.
Some would say with the private option construction of the task force that, I mean, you basically punted it down the road a little bit, though, too. Sure. I mean, you got it off the agenda, but at the same time, you're really not going to be dealing with it until out of session here in the interim until the end of this year. Fair assessment?
Yeah, I think it is, but at the same time, you have 2 years to make sure that the program's working. We're underneath the cost thresholds now. I think that's a good thing. But what it also needs some additional changes, some additional tweaks. We had looked at doing something with the HSA type programs, and there was really no way to get that in place this session. Those types of items we can look at. We can take a look at the program itself to make sure that the costs, like I said, are going to need to be where they should be. But again, it's all about that bigger picture of the Medicaid program. This is a small sliver of that pie, right. and really excited that the members are willing to take on and take a look at the additional programs.
So I'm bragging on you for 81 days, okay, which is pretty good for modern times here. But some people would say you might have stayed in session 1 week too long because of all the controversy of the last week of the session. Did you see this coming? I mean, a week ago when Indiana started to have the problems that it did with the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, Speaker Gillam, could you see that this was coming to Arkansas too?
Well, we knew there was, once Indiana started experiencing their controversy, we knew that probably there was going to be some extra attention come towards Arkansas, but we weren't really sure how it was going to play out, and you can't control a lot of those variables, and so we did what we always do in the legislature, and that was just put our heads down and keep working and keep making sure that the process worked and finishing out strong, and because you can't necessarily control all of those outside variables, like I said.
What was the tipping point? Because we had a couple of different places where I think some could argue that the equation changed. You had protests coming from the LGBT community up at the Capitol, certainly put a lot of political pressure on a lot of folks. You had what was going on in Indiana as a pressure point. You had the national media as a pressure point. And you had the business community, CEOs of major corporations asking for a veto of 1228. What in your minds, I want to hear from both of you on this, what was the turning point, the tipping point in that RFRA debate?
I mean, I only really speak for myself. We had started asking some questions actually about the RFRA after it came out of the state senate, or I did personally, because I mean, it was my understanding all along that this bill mirrored the federal law, when in fact, yes, it did mirror the federal law, but also injected some case law language and really tried to provide some further interpretation. I think that's where we got bogged down. We wanted to have that as a part of what we were able to be successful doing this session, a RFRA for Arkansas, but we didn't know, again, what those consequences were going to be. I think ultimately we got the result that we should have. We have something that is proven, tested, and inside with the federal language being injected here in Arkansas law, and I think ultimately, again, we are where we need to be, and I think it worked itself out.
What was the tipping point for you?
Well, I think it was probably going to be different for most everybody involved in the process. I mean, I think for us, Monday and Tuesday coming back in, we were focused, on finishing out the session with the budget, and that was kind of going to be the members' focus as we went into last weekend for this week. I think the governor obviously weighing in on Monday and Tuesday, I think kind of tipped the scales a little bit.
With a change in his position. He had been for the bill, said he would sign it as amended, and then that seemed to change.
So I think for the House, I think pretty much the governor signaling that he was going to have a change in direction was probably the tipping point for us.
Did that tipping point that you're just describing right there, that could not have been a friendly conversation between some of the supporters of the RFRA bill and the governor at that point in time? What went on behind the scenes to, I guess, kind of broker some sort of compromise?
I mean, I think everybody handled themselves extremely professional and very classy through the conversations that I was involved in. I think the supporters of the bill, I think they handled themselves in a fantastic way in all the conversations that we had this last week. And I mean, obviously had different opinions, but everybody I think conducted themselves I think above board, and I think everybody went to work trying to figure out how to move forward, and I think you see the finished product, and I was very proud of the process this week and the way that it worked as far as from the legislative side on the House.
Last question on this subject before we move on. Is there anything else that you guys can do as a legislature to send a signal that Arkansas is not a state that supports discrimination of the LGBT community, that we are open for business and that we do want that type of diversity in the workforce here? Is there more that you can do on this front to repair what damage may be done?
I mean, I think we look at that in the interim, see if there's legislation that needs to be drafted or passed, and really just see where the support of the body is at this point. I think we took step A, which was, reestablishing what we were trying to do with the RFRA and making sure that we didn't inject language that could be utilized to do something like that. And again, we'll take a look at step B when we're ready.
All right. So what's this session going to be known for in your mind? Obviously, the RFRA debate's going to be the one that everybody ends on, but what are some other accomplishments that you point to and say, this was a session and we made some great progress on blank?
I think workforce education, workforce training, I think is going to be something that a year from now people are really starting to see the dynamics change on, and I think we've made Senator English did a fantastic job over the last year of really kind of moving that ball down. I think that's something that's going to be really significant that's come out of this.
She had everybody in a headlock. How could you not have gotten it done? I mean, it was going to happen. So
she's a determined lady.
She is that.
No, I mean, I think in part, I mean, it's something that you really don't like to talk about because it's not that fun of a subject, but I think the parole reforms that we're looking to put in place, the fact that we did try to tackle the overcrowding with some, I mean, I don't think we fully have gotten to where we probably need to be on that, but the fact that we're talking about utilizing some of those out-of-state facilities that are available, and the fact that we're talking about developing those regional type prison systems, I think those are steps in the right direction and probably something that'll be significant, or something you'll be able to point to in the future, a significant change.
And there's a task force for that too.
Absolutely.
So, got a lot of task
force.
It was
the session
This is the task force session in
Right.
my book here. All right, Speaker Gillam, you say you are running for re-election to the Speaker's post, true?
Yes, sir.
All right. Senator Dismang, you and your wife and everybody watching this show want to know, are you going to try for a second term as Senate President?
I think my wife would rather that I wait and we had that conversation at home. We're just now out of session. We're even technically not out of session now. We haven't sine died. And so, like I said, that's a conversation it's for a future date.
But you're open to the idea?
We'll wait and have that conversation at some future date.
I'm going to encourage him.
You're going to encourage him to do that. I'm going to encourage your wife to let you do it. So I think your leadership is needed for that. All right, Speaker of the House, Jeremy Gillam, Senate President Jonathan Dismang, as always, appreciate you and appreciate your leadership in this session, and it's been good working with you guys. So
yes, sir.
Let's keep it going, all right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, hey, is that a commitment?
Happy Easter.
Oh, all right.